Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Financing Your UE Degree Information session. I'm Christine Nanton, the Manager of Marketing and Communications here at the St. Augustine campus, and I will be your moderator for this afternoon's proceedings. Thank all of you for tuning in, and we're happy to have this opportunity to share more about this great West Indian tradition called UE, and more specifically, to inform you of the many options you have for financial assistance here on our campus. And we know that as we all navigate this new normal, it brings with it its own new set of challenges. And we really want to assure you at this time that we are here to support you. We are your partners in navigating this. And of course, understanding some of the financial challenges you may have, we really want to give you some robust information to help guide and steer your way forward. So here's an idea of how today's program will flow. We will begin with welcome remarks, followed by two presentations. One presentation will focus on the options for student financing, and another on the many scholarships and bursaries available to you and how you can access them. And then we will end with our question and answer segment. Our chat moderator will be taking note of your questions and comments, so feel free to share in the chat as we move along, and we will share with our panelists and of course take these questions during the Q&A segment. And we're going to try to answer as many questions as we can when we get there. So our chat moderator will also be sharing helpful links about student support services, information on our halls of residence, as well as key contacts you'll want to know. So stay tuned to the chat for updates. And to start us off this afternoon, I invite Professor Indar Ramnarayan, our Deputy Campus Principal, to welcome you. Hi, Professor Ramnarayan, welcome.
Thank you very much, Christine, and good afternoon, everyone. I would like to warmly welcome all current and prospective students who are tuned in, and I express my gratitude to you for joining us this afternoon. Thanks as well to all the staff members who have made this virtual event possible. To everyone watching on the stream, congratulations on taking this step towards your higher education. A brave feat under any circumstances, but certainly a tremendous one during this new normal. I also want to take this opportunity to commend you for your dedication and commitment and recognize your initiative to strive towards excellence. Even during these unprecedented times, your drive and motivation are characteristics that will take you far. We are happy that you are considering us to be part of your educational journey. My role as Deputy Principal is to support the campus principal in the management of the St. Augustine campus. I also have overall responsibility for student matters. On a day-to-day basis, my extended office handles student issues such as learning support services, disability services, career development, counseling services, academic matters, student activities, and student complaints. My office is also considered as the office of last resort for student issues. Since 2017, when I first stepped into this role, our team, alongside many support staff from various offices across the university, some of whom you will meet during this forum, have worked with thousands of students to help them develop by coordinating efforts to help our students succeed. As an institution, UWI wants you to succeed not just in your academics, but also in terms of your mental and physical well-being. This is why we have dedicated support services, such as the Division of Student Services and Development, or as we call it, DSSD, an acronym you will want to remember because they will help you mold into an engaged student who can navigate campus life and enjoy the full breadth of the UWI student experience. The DSSD falls under my office. Since the nationwide school closure in March 2020 due to COVID-19, our mandate to help students succeed has not changed. We have made all of our student services easily accessible, both online and by phone. Our support teams have been working non-stop to ensure that all students can continue to get a high quality of service that they have come to expect from us. Being able to provide financial assistance remains a top priority for the university. We understand how significant a factor financial aid is to students. This is why we have the Department of Financial Advisory Services under the DSSD. They find ways to help students pay the university fees. As a student, once you are eligible, you can apply for several scholarships and bursaries that help pay for tuition, books, and even accommodation. You might be surprised to know that in the past, we have had a low number of students applying for scholarships and bursaries. This has really surprised us. Several students or several scholarships go unawarded because no one applied. My colleague, Mrs. Christy Smith, Manager of Financial Advisory Services, will speak more on this later. But just remember, there is a scholarship or bursary waiting for you once you are eligible. The need for innovative, analytical, and proactive people like yourself has not diminished. During this time of COVID-19, those skills are even more essential. Members of our university community have been playing pivotal roles during this pandemic. Our clinical faculty and graduates are the frontline doctors, nurses, and other healthcare professionals who are working tirelessly to provide care for the sick. Our alumni are leading in businesses, both big and small, across Trinidad and Tobago and around the world by using strategic planning and relying on data-driven research to ensure long-term stability during this period and beyond. More than ever, the world is turning to universities to find solutions to our most pressing problems. For example, the University of Oxford is leading the development of a vaccine for COVID-19. And COVID-19 sits on top of that list. And the work we do at UWI addresses that and helps make a difference. For this new academic year, we will be delivering our classes and support services in hybrid mode, guided by health and safety protocols. As I close, I certainly look forward to welcoming and meeting our new students. I cannot wait to witness firsthand as your unique contributions plus our expert guidance help shape you and the world for years to come. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Deputy Principal, for setting the stage for us this evening. And I note that we have not only our regional students, our national students here in Trinidad and Tobago joining us, but I also see some regional students as well. I want to shout out Melinda from Dominica and Candon joining us from the Bahamas. So happy that we have such a diverse student group with us this afternoon. And so, of course, just to reiterate what Deputy Principal shared, we are your partners here to support you, to help you through all of the new challenges you have to navigate. And so we're really hoping that this session will be useful to you and to guide your path forward. So now I'm happy to introduce you to Mr. Kevin Kalu. And Mr. Kalu is the financial manager at the student section at the Bursary. And for those of you who may not be too familiar, the Bursary is the department that handles all the university's financial matters, including anything having to do with your student financing and your student accounts. So Mr. Kalu will now give an overview of the options for student financing. Good afternoon, Mr. Kalu.
Good afternoon, Christine. Thank you for that. Let me just get my PowerPoint up and we shall begin. Okay, so as Christine said, I'm Kevin Kalu, your financial manager in charge of student-related matters and financing. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to share with you today some tips on financing your degree, and we understand that financing a degree in this pandemic time can be quite a challenge. And I want you all to understand that at the university, especially at the student account section, we're here to help you manage those finances and work through those particular issues. All right, we'll start with GATE. So this would apply to all Trinidad and Tobago nationals and citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. They can apply for GATE funding. The first thing that you need to do would be to get what we call a GATE ID by visiting any TT Connect office with your ID card as well as your birth certificate. Once you have that GATE ID, you will then be able to log into the GATE website and apply for funding. So that's the first step. Nationals of Trinidad and Tobago can apply for GATE funding at both the undergraduate and postgraduate level. The funding structures, it's slightly different at those particular levels. You can get up to as much as 100% funding for your tuition fees. The funding percentage is what we call means test. And this means test rate is determined by the gate office based on documentation that you would submit with your application. Now, means test rates basically, for example, could be as much as 100%, and it depends on your monthly household income. So if your monthly household income is less than $10,000, you can qualify for up to 100% gate funding of your tuition fees. If your monthly household income is between $10,000 to $30,000 a month, you can qualify for up to 75% gate funding. And if your household income is over $30,000 per month, you can qualify for 50% gate funding. That's at the undergraduate level. At the postgraduate level, the structure is slightly different. Again, it depends on your monthly household income. And if your monthly household income is below $30,000, you can get up to 50% gate funding. If it is above $30,000 per month, then you can get up to 25% gate funding. In addition to gate funding, students can also qualify, students who are qualified for gate can also access help loans through that particular office. So Trinidad and Tobago National can actually finance 100% of their tuition fees through gate funding as well as help loans. All right, so that's essentially gate in a nutshell. The next item I want to speak about is the student payment plan. So we do have a flexible student payment plan that is available to most students. Most students will qualify for the payment plan. Payment plans essentially run every semester and would involve 2 to 3 monthly installments. You can use these payment plans to pay your tuition fees, as well as you can use them to pay your hall fees. Once you qualify for the payment plan, all you will have to do is make your payments by the stipulated deadline dates that you can see on the screen here, and that will be it. It's as easy as that. There's no formal documentation to sign. Once you qualify, you make your payments in line with the stipulated deadline dates, and you'll be good to go. So that's the student payment plan. And paying your fees, in addition to that, the final item I want to speak about is paying your fees, which is also very, very simple. The options available for paying your fees include paying them at any branch of Republic Bank using our UWI student bank deposit slip, or you can pay them online using your very own secure area with a valid credit card, or you can pay your fees via bank transfer using internet banking. These are very simple ways of paying your fees. What I would also urge you all to do is when paying fees that you hold on to those receipts. That's important as it's your proof of payment, and you would need to share this information with us to ensure that you get appropriate clearance and that kind of thing. So these are some things you need to pay attention to in terms of financing your degree. I really can't wait to see you all. I encourage you all to be you. I look forward to hearing your questions in the Q&A session and getting some sharing some more information with you all. And I thank you all for sharing with us this evening, for being with us this evening, and giving me the opportunity to share with you all this information. I look forward to the Q&A session in a little bit. Thanks, Christy.
Thank you, Kevin, for kicking us off and sharing the information specific to student financing. I see that we have some additional regional students joining us. I see Daniela from Grenada, Pedro from Barbados, and I'm also seeing students from Arima, Matura, Diego Martin. So welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. And students, what I can share is that Kevin and his team at the student account section are really thorough in helping you when it comes to your financing. And they're also timely in responding via email, so don't be afraid to send any questions that you may have. Our chat moderator will provide the contact info for Mr. Kalu's section, as well as the other faculty-specific student account emails that you should know. And so now I turn to Ms. Christy Smith, the manager of the Financial Advisory Services Office. This is under the Division of Student Services and Development. And Ms. Smith is going to share with us this evening on scholarships and bursaries. So Christy, welcome. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Christine, and the other panelists, good afternoon. But a special and very, very warm welcome to all of you who have tuned in this afternoon. While Kevin was doing his presentation, I was just taking a look in the chat, and I see we have people, students writing in from Matlot. And I took notice of that because this is really where our scholarships and bursaries come in to provide, you know, some type of assistance to persons living in those types of areas. I imagine it would be difficult to commute back in the day when we were face to face, but even virtually, there's some measure of commute that the scholarships and bursaries funding can assist. So like Ms. Nanton said, the manager of the Financial Advisory Services Department. And today I'm going to talk to you about the other side of financing your degree. You would have heard from my colleague, Mr. Kalu, about financing through GATE and through the UWI's payment plan. And that would be directly in relation to your tuition-based costs. And I'm here to talk a little bit more about the other costs, the non-tuition-based costs associated with pursuing a higher degree. So let's get straight into it. I'm going to share with you my little PowerPoint presentation. So today I'm going to talk to you about financing your degree and looking at how you finance your degree through our division and our department. So like I said earlier, we are the Financial Advisory Services Department, and we are one of 8 departments under the Division of Student Services and Development. The Division of Student Services and Development is set up to really take care of you, to help you manage your transition and to maximize your experience while you are at the UWI. We, of course, are part of the support services under the Deputy Principal's Office. And specifically for financial advisory, our remit stands in the area of providing financial advice, financial aid, and financial assistance to students facing some measure of financial challenge. I want to just start with, because I usually like to break down the remit so you have a better understanding. I want to start with the advisory capacity we serve. And many times students come in and yes, they do have a financial challenge, but the financial challenge is linked to some other situation that may not exactly require monetary resolution. And so this is where we come in our advisory capacity. So most times when students are facing a challenge, they would come into us. Now that we are physically distancing ourselves, we are doing this activity virtually via Zoom, via phone contact, via emails. But we usually sit and interview the student, talk to the student some more to get a bit more information about their particular situation. Once we're able to do that, there are times when we would require supporting documentation just to help your case. And when we have a broad picture of what you're actually facing, we can then look for the right intervention. Like I said before, sometimes the intervention may mean monetary aid. Other times it may mean liaising with other departments such as the bursary, admissions, etc., the Deputy Principal's Office to find the right intervention for your situation. So that's one way we provide advice in that advisory capacity. Secondly, we have the responsibility of tooling our students, equipping you with proper financial planning and management information. That's part of our mandate here. And so we have a Managing Your Finances workshop. It's usually held in February annually, and this is part of our first year experience program. Our first year experience program helps our first years, like many of you who are joining us today, helps to usher you into UWI life. And this program is under the remit of the Director's Office. That's the Director of Student Services and Development. So our workshop now forms part of that program. And the workshop gives you information on how to budget, how to prepare a proper budget, how to manage your funds while you are at campus. We even look at tooling you with the requisite information on how to plan for retirement. You don't have to wait until you're young like me to do that. You can do it at any point in time, but particularly for the younger ones coming in, there's no time like the present to start planning. So this is the type of information we equip you with. We also include information on how to manage your credit, how to build a proper credit history. And we would go more into that as we get on to the other parts of the presentation. But certainly you would want to consider that coming out of the UWI, you would be brand spanking new on the job market. When you go for a loan, of course, the institutions who would ask you for some kind of credit history, and many of you may not have. So we try to put aspects of that into our workshop so that you at least you have some information on how to move forward. And this naturally ushers me into my next point, which is collaboration with industry and other financial partners. And so while we are on the issue, and I know Kevin would have alluded to it earlier with respect to the self-help loan, the self-help loan is one of the other interventions that we provide for students wishing to get financial aid. And I just want to give you a little more information about the self-help loan. So I will now share the slide. One second. All right, so there we have it. Okay, so now you should be seeing the self-help loan brochure. And just to say that the self-help loan is part of the Ministry of Education's aid program, whereas the GATE funding would assist you with your tuition. The self-help loan tends to assist you with those non-tuition based costs. It is, this is how you qualify for the self-help loan. Approvals for local study of a maximum of up to $35,000 per academic year. For regional study, you have up to a maximum of $75,000 per academic year. And of course, it's accessible to citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, 18 years and over, for local or regional tertiary level GATE approved programs only. So you'd want to take note of that. Check to see if your program is indeed a GATE approved program. And of course, it's also important that you look at some of the other requirements. So just to go a little deeper, all costs cover expenses for the academic year should be included. So sometimes they would look at tuition, areas like purchasing books, especially for students in the Faculty of Law. There are other students who may need to purchase material and equipment in the Faculty of Medical Sciences, FST, administrative expenses, living expenses, and any other expense for which assistance may be required. So here are some guidelines that the Help Office have presented to you. Students must reapply for each academic year that funding is required. For each new application, updated documents must be submitted. In other words, you can't bring documents from last year. For full-time students, the loan is serviced by the government during the period of study, and repayment begins no later than 6 months after your final exams. Students in full-time employment are required to begin repayment of the loan immediately, and application forms can be collected and completed and submitted to Republic Bank. In this case, it is Republic Bank, but I am aware that FCB offers the same facility. And from time to time, when students come into us, we are also able to share with them a copy of the application form to assist in the expediting of that form. You would want to also take note, for those of you logged on and watching the slides right now, the ministry websites. Of course, I am just sharing this information as part of the advisory capacity, but this remit stays with the ministry. So any further details, you'd really want to take this information down. I'm sure we can make this slide shareable after. And here is a checklist of your requirements. You would need one form of national ID, the acceptance letter from our UWI institution, and you would get that from our admissions department. The transcript, which is not applicable for first year students, but for those continuing students who are online right now, you can request your transcript. your student ID, income statement, your utility bill, rent, receipt or contract, tuition fee sheet, living expenses, a breakdown of it. So you'd want to start preparing that. And any other expenses if you have a book list, and of course your birth certificate. And please note, and I want to say this very loudly so you can hear, because this also applies to financial aid through us at the FAS, that detailed evidence must be provided for all requests made. All right, so like I said before, Republic Bank is one of the banks that offers this type of assistance, as well as the First Citizens Bank. And so I'm just going to take you right back to our slide presentation. And just to zone in now on the financial aid and assistance capacity that we serve, first and foremost, we offer scholarships and bursaries. Our office serves as the secretariat for a committee known as the Campus Committee for Undergraduate Awards, and it's chaired by our deputy principal, who's on with us right now. It includes members, faculty representatives, as well as all the donors of scholarships and bursaries. So I will go into that in a bit more detail shortly, because this is something I want to really impress, and I know that the deputy principals spoke about it in terms of the number of applicants which have been decreasing as we proceed through the years. I want to urge students to really take the opportunity to apply. It's an opportunity to finance yourself, finance your degree while you move through your years. And it also, particularly during this COVID period, it could come in very, very handy to assist you. And then we have some of our other financial programs. Once you are on the campus and you've registered, and when I say on, I mean virtually as well, you've registered for your programs, you can reach out to us and we can have another interview session to determine how best we can assist you through our other programs. And so to get straight into our scholarships and bursaries. So there is a time frame for applications for UWI St. Augustine campus scholarships and bursaries. For continuing students, that time for applications is usually between January to May. This year we extended the application deadline date to July 31st. So it's currently closed, but for our new incoming students, the application date, which runs from September 1st to the 30th of September, has been moved up this year. We are now opening up just a bit earlier from August 24th, and it's going to run until, again, the deadline, which is the 30th of September. So for all incoming students, you'd want to take note of those application dates, that time frame in which you must apply in order to be considered for an award. And I really want to take the opportunity to also share our website information, because it is important for students to understand where they can get more details on our scholarships and bursaries. And so if you look at our webpage, sta.uwi.edu/scholarships, this is what our homepage looks like. I would invite you in your free time to take a look, go through our menu items and take a look at some of the requirements, some of the eligibility criteria. And I would go into that as well a little bit later, but there's information here that can really support your application for scholarships and bursaries. For example, the scholarships and bursaries booklet. That particular booklet allows you to view all the donors, their respective eligibility criteria, how much each bursary is worth, what faculty you have to be registered in. So please take some time to view that. And critical to our application is your supporting documents. We have an extracurricular sheet that must be completed, an income and expenditure sheet that must be completed, and an additional comment sheet. And this additional comment sheet, it really allows students to express some of the challenges they may be having. It allows you to write out the challenges so we can view it from a more the human side of your application. All right, and those supporting documents can be uploaded into our online application form. So if you go to the tab that says Apply Now, you will see the online application form, and you're able to do your biodata application and then submit all the supporting documents into that space. And so I'm going to take you back now to the slide presentation. So I just wanted to pull out a few items, things that I thought stood out with respect to our scholarships and bursaries. Firstly, the minimum amount of any one of our awards is $5,000. So it starts off at $5,000. And I don't mean to belabor, but certainly $5,000 in this time can facilitate a number of things. One, it can help you virtually, we are now, so you may be able to purchase a laptop. You would be able to get all the apparatus or some of the apparatus that you need to facilitate the technical side of things as we move to our blended and virtual learning. It will be able to accommodate your meals. For those of you who are staying on campus on our halls of residences, you will be able to use some of these funds to pay at least for a semester worth of stay on our halls. So don't discredit the 5,000, you know, it can still help you as you go along. There's also a financial need component. So while we are an academic institution and academics are very important to us, the financial component allows students who may be experiencing financial challenges to have greater access to some of our awards. And so because some of our donors have built that in as part of the criteria. Some of the awards also offer paid internships. So for example, the National Gas Company, they have an award with us. It's valued at $20,000, and it's a continuous award, meaning that once you maintain a GPA of 3.6, and once you maintain the other criteria, you're able to have that award renewed, and that also comes with a paid internship. We have a few other donors who have built in paid internships into their scholarship as well. Again, the awards are open to all faculties, different awards, different faculties, but many for all faculties. It's also open to national and regional students. Some are open to all students, including international students. And for our St. Augustine Campus Awards, you only need to submit one application form. And that's the same area where I showed you just now where you were able to apply. So some important things to know in terms of your eligibility: only full-time undergraduate students and students going into full-time study from level 2 will be considered for a scholarship or bursary. Part-time students, because we had a question about this recently, part-time students who have completed level 1 of study and are proceeding to full-time in level 2 will also be eligible. Okay, so only if you're going into full-time study from level 2, that will give you eligibility to access the scholarship and bursaries. Students in the Faculty of Medical Sciences who've completed phase 1 of their examinations are also eligible to submit an application. If you're the holder of a continuing award and you have not maintained your academic standard, which is usually a B+ average, you will not be eligible to submit an application. And then we're going to look at some of the things that make you ineligible, which is equally important. If you have applied for leave of absence, if you have been required to withdraw, if you're writing an examinations without attending classes for the 2019-2020 academic year or the 2020-2021 academic years, then you would not be eligible for application. If you are the recipient of another award, for example, a government scholarship or a UE Open scholarship, you are not eligible for another scholarship or bursary at the St. Augustine campus. And if you're expected to complete your course of study at the end of the 1920-2020 academic year, then you are not eligible to apply. Continuing on, if you are the holder of a continuing award and you are not required to submit another application, such persons must, however, if you're the holder of a continuing award, you are not required to submit another application. However, you must maintain the required academic standard to be considered for the continuation of that award. And a student who obtains a scholarship or bursary for studying in one faculty will not be allowed to keep the same bursary if they transfer to another faculty. And it would be remiss of me if I did not mention that these scholarships and bursaries are privately donated, and it's through the generous donations made by our donors, which include members of our campus community, institutions, corporations, associations, clubs, regional and international partners, and individuals. And you'll see the list of them once you peruse our webpage. They are the ones who enable these offers at the St. Augustine campus each year. And so you may be asking, you know, what criteria, what do I have to meet? What do I have to get in order to be considered? So here's some, just an example of some of the criteria that the donors look for. Academic merit. I did say initially we are an academic institution, but we are also sensitive to other areas of life that students experience. So they usually look for a 3.0 GPA. There are times when the donors go a little below, but that is on a case-by-case basis. Financial need is another key aspect, as I mentioned before. That financial need form, the income and expenditure form, once you complete that successfully and you have it notarized by a public notary or commission of affidavit, then you will now be scored, and we would consider you for financial need as part of the criteria. And of course, involvement in extracurricular activities. We have over 95 clubs on the campus. I'm sure some of them have gone virtual. I'm sure you have different things in your community that's taking place. Everybody's revamping the way they do things. Tap into it and see how best you can be part of the extracurricular life, because at the UWI, of course, we're trying to raise the holistic student, so that becomes important. Other criteria, because some of the donors have very specific criteria. For example, for Republic Bank, you must have a career builder account at Republic Bank. For Holy Name Convent, Past Pupils Association, of course, and the same with St. Joseph Convent, Port of Spain Past Pupils Association, you must have attended the school in order to be considered for the award. Likewise, Presentation College. There are other donors who service particular areas. So as part of their criteria, in addition to the three main ones to the top, Caribbean Gas Chemical Limited, they look at those students who come from library and environs. So once you have your academic financial need as part of the criteria, the next step now is the student from library or the environs, and then you can qualify. So we want to invite students from those areas. I mean, take a look at our booklet and see what are the particular things that would give you a little more eligibility, as well as the National Energy Company, who has put in a bursary for students coming out of the Guayari area. For others, they specify that students must be registered in a particular degree program. For example, Methanex, NGC, they look for students who are registered in the Faculty of Engineering. Personal photos, the PIPS, the Personal Photo Studio, they look at students who are registered in the Faculty of Social Sciences, and they open it up to other students as well. So this is just an example of some of the specific things that donors look for. Like I said, take a look at our booklet and you get more details. Of course, I have to highlight and just say a special thanks to our donors. Here's the list of our donors for 2020-2021 who have kindly donated awards, all of them starting at a minimum of 5,000 and some of them going upwards, so that it can give you some more funding as you move through your academic life. And here we are, students. This is a photo of our Campus Committee for Undergraduate Awards ceremony. These are some of our recipients of awards, all our awardees here. And I want to see you in this picture next year, though virtually. This can be you. You can be part of this legacy. You can be part of this tradition, and you can actually access a scholarship and bursary to help you. So I want to encourage particularly our new students to apply when August 24th comes, and for our continuing students, although our application period has just ended, stay tuned because we will be back again with open applications from January of 2021. So thank you. Here's my contact information. We want to hear from you, so please feel free to reach out to us. Thanks again for your attention.
Thank you so much, Christy, for that really comprehensive presentation. I saw a lot of questions coming in with students, wanting more information, but I think one of the things that I want the participants to remember or to, take away from this session is that, there are a number of different ways that we support you financially. And so, of course, through the generous support of all of our donors, we're able to really, provide different levels of assistance. And so participants, we're going to transition now into the question and answer segment. And so I hope that all of the information that has been provided through our two presenters, as well as Deputy Principal who went before them, is really giving you real broad base and intricate information in terms of all the options for financing your degree. For the new ones when you join us, and for the continuing students, of course, as you continue on. And so we've been taking notes of all of the questions coming into the chat, and so we're gonna get into some of them right now. So I am actually going to start off with Christy, just to clarify, for those who have applied for scholarships. I saw some questions about the McCandle Dagger and the De La Rue scholarship. When will these students be notified about the scholarships that they applied for?
Okay, thank you for that question. The McCandle Dagger Award is currently being processed, so students should get information about that during the month of September. For our other St. Augustine Campus Awards for continuing students, we are going to meet shortly. By the end of this month, we should have our meeting. And then I estimate that they should receive word again within the month of September.
Okay, great. Thanks for that, Christy. Kevin, the next couple of questions I have are for your area. So the first one is that this student wanted clarification whether or not persons receiving GATE funding can also apply for a help loan.
Yes, that's one of the criteria to access the help loan, that you would have had to qualify for GATE first and then be able to access a help loan afterwards. The help loan would be used to cover any part of the tuition fee that GATE will not fund. So for example, if you qualified for 50% GATE funding, you can then apply for a help loan for the other 50% of your tuition.
Okay, thanks for that, Kevin. So just to clarify, the help loan in a way is meant to supplement the funding that you're receiving already from GATE. Thanks for that, Kevin. The next question is just another point of clarity. This student was asking, how do you go about requesting the payment plan? But I understand that you don't necessarily have to request it. So Kevin, could you just clarify that?
Yeah, there's no formal request that needs to be made. Once you qualify for the payment plan, and it's simply that you're a national of a contributing country, your tuition fee is above a certain amount, and once you meet those simple criteria, you'll be able to access the payment plan. And all you will have to do is make your payments by the stipulated deadline dates. Yeah, and that would be it.
Okay, so just a point of clarity, because I think that there were some participants who were thinking that the payment plan, like GATE, might be only for Trinidad and Tobago students. But just to clarify, once you are from one of the UWI contributing countries, you can apply to pay your funds via the payment plan.
Right, so once you're a national of any contributing country of the region, you'll qualify for the payment plan.
Okay, great. The next question is just in terms of deadlines. This student was asking about hall fees, paying both for tuition and hall fees. But to my understanding, Kevin, the deadlines for all the fees, are they the same or are they different?
They are the same. We have synchronized the whole payment plan and the tuition fee payment plan to equate the same monthly installment dates.
Okay, great. Thanks for that, Kevin. The next question is for Christy. So Christy, are there scholarships for part-time postgrad students?
Thank you, and thanks for the question. First, our office deals with scholarships and bursaries for undergraduate students. However, our graduate school, there is an office there that deals specifically with awards for postgraduate students. I saw my colleague, Ms. Edward Shepherd, shared in the chat the link. You can contact Ms. Sarah Kalu, and perhaps we can put her information in the chat. Ms. Sarah Kalu Bagwandine is responsible for all postgraduate scholarships and other awards, and I'm sure she'd be able to share that vital information to that student.
Okay, great. Thanks. Thanks so much, Christy. The next couple of questions I have are for you as well. So just a point of clarity for our students, just making sure that the first question is, can someone repeating year one apply for scholarships and bursaries for the upcoming year?
Yes, they can. Someone repeating year one can apply for scholarships and bursaries, providing that they fulfill all the criteria and also bearing in mind the ineligibility areas that I highlighted in my PowerPoint presentation. So if they were on leave of absence, if they received an RTW required to withdraw, if they had withdrawn and now coming back, those are some of the things that would not make them eligible. But certainly if they're coming back in, they can apply.
Thanks for that, Christy. Just another point of clarity. I know that some students on this session as well are thinking that the scholarships and bursary options may just be for new incoming students. So just to clarify, these scholarship and bursary opportunities are available at all levels. So first year, second year, and onwards.
Yes, so and thanks for that, because it gives me the opportunity to just share with the students again the application cycles. So our scholarships and bursaries, you can look at it from two positions. The first would be for returning, continuing students, and those applications are received from January, the end of January, till the end of May. That's the application period for continuing or returning students. And by continuing or returning, I mean those students who are finishing off their first year, because that application cycle will come toward the second semester of a first year student's academic year. So those students will then be eligible to apply because they would now be considered continuing. And that is basically because our applications are always for the next academic year. So for example, the applications for this year, which was done in 2020, when you apply, it will really be for consideration for 2020-2021. So that would be for our continuing students, students moving from year one into year two. And once you are in year three, though, and you must have a minimum of maybe 4 to 6 courses still to complete to be considered for an award. If you have 3 or less, you will not be considered. So that's one. And the second part is for the new students. So new students, your application cycle runs this year, it will run from August 24th to September 30th. So it's 2 cycles for applications. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, thanks so much, Christy. The next question is for Kevin. So Kevin, this participant is awaiting CAPE 2 results for acceptance, and they want to know, can I still apply for my GATE ID before I have my acceptance letter?
Yes, you can apply for your GATE ID number beforehand. Once you have that number, it'll be easy for you to apply for GATE. You don't need to be accepted as yet to the University of West Indies to apply for GATE ID. You will have to be accepted to UWI to apply for GATE. So you need an acceptance letter to upload with your first application to GATE. So you'll have to apply for GATE after being accepted by the UWI. And that doesn't stop you from going and getting your GATE ID now.
Okay, wonderful. Just on the note of GATE, Kevin, just a point of clarity. Is GATE funding 50% for postgrad programs or only up to a maximum of $10,000? I think there was a bit of confusion there.
It's a bit complicated in terms of the monthly household income thresholds and then the applicable means test percentages. Now, for postgraduate programs, basically you can get a maximum of 50% funding from GATE to cover your tuition fees. Yeah, that will depend on your monthly household income. So if your monthly household income is less than $30,000 a month, you can get a maximum of 50% funding for your postgraduate program tuition fees. Yeah. So the means test rate depends on your household income, your monthly household income. At the undergraduate level, it's a different structure too as well. The household income ranges from less than 10,000 to 30,000, and over 30,000. Yeah. So essentially, the higher your monthly household income is, the smaller the means test rate will be.
Okay, thanks for that, Kevin. And just, I presume this question is coming from one of our new students. So in terms of our online payment facility, well, from what we promote, we of course have like a 10-step registration process, which includes applying for GATE, registering for your courses, and of course paying fees. And can you just give us some reminders of the details in terms of the options available, both at the bank and of course the online?
Right, so you can pay your fees in 3 different ways. You can pay your fees at the public bank using our UWI bank deposit slip, which most students normally do. You could also pay your fees online with a valid credit card through your own secure area. So when you log into your account, you can click on online payment and pay through that particular online portal. And you can also pay your fees via bank transfer direct into our bank account using internet banking. Those are the 3 main ways that you can actually pay your tuition fees.
Okay, great. Thanks, Kevin. So moving along, I'm seeing we have a lot of questions coming in, and so I'm really grateful that we're able to address as many of them as possible. So Professor Ramnarayan, I actually want to call on you for our next question. We had a question about if there will be a reduction in the cost of programs if classes are online. Can you just give us some clarity on that?
Thanks very much, Christine. Okay, so it's a really interesting question, but unfortunately the answer is no, because it does take much more effort to run proper online courses than face-to-face. And with the new academic year, because of the COVID situation, most of our courses will be online. So we are not proposing any reduction in fees because of the amount of effort that it takes to actually offer these online courses and maintain these online courses. So unfortunately, we cannot reduce the fees. But we could provide supports through scholarships and bursaries and student payment plan and so forth. At least that's the way that we could approach this. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much for that, Deputy Principal. So moving along, colleagues, the next question I have is for Christy. So this is from one of our current students. They noted that they only saw the email on July 27th for the submission for bursaries, and they're still preparing the documents and it's taking some time given the current scenario. Will any concession be given to late submissions for scholarships and bursaries?
Yeah, thanks for that. We have extended our deadline on 2 occasions. So our original deadline was set for May 29th. We moved it to June 30th and then to July 31st. But we are aware of the challenges that students are facing. It is a bit difficult. And so while we are in the middle of processing the documents, we will give a grace period. If you can get that into us by the end of the week, we will consider it. But we have really stretched in terms of extending our deadline. So we're trying to be sensitive to what is happening as it relates to COVID. But of course, we also have our processes to fulfill. So I'm saying to that student or any other student who requires that information, if you can send it in to us by the end of the week latest, we will accept it.
Thanks for that, Christy. And of course, we would have been sharing the contact info. I know Karen is in the chat sharing as well. So of course, I want to also encourage the student that if they're having any challenges or any difficulties, please reach out to the team who can provide guidance and support to help you finish that application. Because as Deputy Principal mentioned earlier, years gone by, we've actually had low application numbers for some of these scholarship opportunities. So there are a number of opportunities available, and we really want to make sure that, we support you to be able to access it. So thanks for that. Christy, the next question is also for you, and it's along the lines of student employment. And so the question is the DSSD still offering students the opportunity to work a certain number of hours for the week? Is this program still operational?
Okay, thank you for that. The student employment, vacation employment, and semester employment is handled by one of our sister departments under the division, the Community Engagement, Careers, and Co-Curricular Department. And from the information received, what I can say is, of course, we're limited by the context that we're operating in. As the students know, as we all know, it's very difficult for us to bring you on the campus. And so with that in mind, it is really based on the needs of the respective faculties and the resources available, of course, to those faculties. If they reach out and say, we are in need of a student, we would try our best to look at the database and determine which students can best fit the needs. But of course, it has to be through a virtual platform. So while there is some opportunity, I don't want to give the impression that that opportunity is as it was pre-COVID. It is going to be a virtual opportunity, and it is subject to the faculties, imprimatur, their resources, and their needs.
Okay, thanks.
But of course, students can feel free to reach out to the C3 department to get further information, and that information will be shared in the chat, their contact details.
Okay, thanks so much, Christy. The next question, I want to go to Kevin. It's on GATE. So this student has noted that the GATE e-service website is not accessible. I think it may appear to be down, and the TT Connect centers aren't reachable by phone for confirmation. Is there any other way that the service may be accessed?
I know that the GATE website has information. I'm not sure that if the site is down, I'm not aware. But there's information on the GATE website to contact them via phone or email. So I would urge students to check the GATE website for that information. Obviously, if it's down, the most I can probably do is contact my colleagues there and advise them so that their IT people can look into it. As it pertains to the TT Connect office, again, I can't comment on that. I'm not sure about their timing and their hours of operation. I wasn't aware that they would have been closed or not operational. And then I could follow up with my colleagues in the GATE office to see what is the situation with that.
Okay, thanks for that, Kevin. Our next question is, I'm not sure which of you may want to take it, whether it's Christy or Kevin, so I'll read the question and you guys can jump in. So the question is, if part-time MSc students are limited in their options for scholarships and bursaries, and the particular MSc program is not GATE funded, what options do I have for financial aid? I don't know who wants to take that one.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. Yeah, with the program not being GATE funded, which are only a few for us at UWI. I think when I last counted, there were about 6 programs that weren't GATE funded, but were in the process of being reviewed for GATE funding. So without the program being GATE funded, the only other option would be certain loans. Christy, I don't know, they wouldn't be able to access the help loan though because they would not have qualified for GATE. So that one would be a very, very unique situation where we just have to work with that student as best as possible to see how we can sort out their finances. Christy, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add to that.
Yes, Kevin, and thanks for that. Certainly, they will not be able to access the self-help loan. They may be they may be able to access other loans from financial institutions. What I can say is, if the student enters onto the campus for the next academic year, they can reach out to us, and we would be able to provide some measure of advice to that student.
Yeah.
We can probably set a pathway forward for that student. So I'd just like to invite the person who asked that to reach out to us, and you have our contact information there. We'll see how best we could support you.
Okay, thanks colleagues for that. And so, what I want to share with our students as well is that we have systems in place to treat with you on a case-by-case basis. So we know that your situation may be unique. We know that, you may be coming from different scenarios that perhaps we have not encountered in the past, but we will look at your situation, make an assessment, and of course guide you. We have a lot of contacts within the financial sector locally. We have banks that we partner with for different projects. So there will be financing options available for you. And so, as Christy mentioned, we really do encourage you to reach out to us, share your information, and we will, help you and guide you along a pathway forward. So moving along into our questions, we've been really getting a lot of engagement. So I want to thank all of our participants for sharing. And I know that we still have quite a few questions that we want to get through. So I'm going to jump right back into it. The next question is about the UWI Open Scholarship. So Christy, I'm not sure if you'll be able to advise. This person applied for the Open Scholarship and they wanted to know when perhaps they can find out if they've been shortlisted.
Certainly, and coincidentally, the meeting for that was held only today. So it's in process. So just so you know that things are moving along with respect to all the applications for the UWI Open. We'll usually wait for word on the nominations, the final listing from the headquarters in Jamaica. And so I imagine by sometime in September, you should get word on that. You will receive notification directly from the headquarters to let you know whether you've been successful, and if you were successful, the nature of the award that you've been given.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for that. Moving along. Well, I'm going to throw this one out to both Christy and Kevin. The student wants to know, can you qualify for both GATE funding as well as a scholarship and bursary? Scholarship or bursary, of course.
Christine,
Yeah.
no, you can't access both sources of funding. GATE has requirements where if you are accessing other sources of funding, you wouldn't qualify for GATE. So it would be for you to decide whether you're going to accept a scholarship or you're going to access a GATE funding, but you wouldn't be able or allowed to have both.
So if I may just thanks for that question, and thanks for saying that, Kevin, because it also reminds me of another feature of GATE. But before I go into that, there are different types of scholarships. So you have those scholarships that are government funded, government scholarships, national government scholarships. Then you have the scholarships that come from our Office for Board of Undergraduate Studies, which is like the Open Scholarship and all the others you would see on our website under that respective part. And then there are the St. Augustine Campus Awards and Scholarships. And the St. Augustine Campus Scholarships are non-tuition based awards. So whereas, to speak to exactly what Kevin was saying, whereas a student can apply for GATE, but once awarded a national scholarship, they have to choose which one they're gonna take. For our awards here, our privately donated awards, our UWI St. Augustine Campus Awards, the same presentation that I did earlier, those you can actually apply for, whether you apply for GATE or not, because they are non-tuition based awards. And I want to take from that and just alert students to a peculiar area on your gate form that asks you whether you have received a scholarship for tuition. And so sometimes our students are a bit taken aback. They don't want to apply for our non-tuition based awards because when they're completing the gate form, they think that they have to fill in that amount, and that ultimately impacts the amount of gate funding they receive because it goes towards the household income amount. So I just want to say to students, especially the new ones, when you're filling out the gate form, even the continuing ones, if you are the recipient of a UWI St. Augustine Campus Award, which is a non-tuition based awards through the Campus Committee for Undergraduate Awards, you do not have to include that information because that is not a tuition-based award. So I just want to make that very, very clear, and I have confirmed this with the gate office. So feel free to apply for our awards based on that information. Thank you.
Thanks, Christy, and thanks, Kevin. Professor Ramnarayan, I want to call on you for the next question. From one of our regional students, of course, given the current scenario with our borders being closed, and of course, we expect that they will have questions. So this question is actually about booking a flight to come to Trinidad. And so the student wants to know, how can I go about booking a chartered flight to come to Trinidad?
Well, yes, that's a very interesting question. As Christine indicated, our borders are closed. So in order to enter or leave the country for that matter, the person needs to get permission from the Minister of National Security. So first of all, you will need to contact the Minister of National Security to request permission. Also, flights coming in or leaving need to be approved by the Minister of National Security. So there's a process involved. I remember that just recently, well, might have been about a month ago, we brought in several students from Jamaica and from Cape Verde in Barbados. And we had to go through that process where they had to apply for permission, they got a permission, and the flights had to be approved. But that was a little bit easier because we worked with our Mona campus and our Cape Verde campus to help process these applications. So if we could get some further information on exactly where you are right now, then that will make the process a little bit easier. Certainly, if it's Jamaica or Cape Verde, there are going to be flights at some stage because we have to bring back some of our students. Some of our students have to go back to those campuses. So if you could let us know where you are located, so we can see how we can reach out to you and try to assist. Thanks, Christine.
Thanks for that, Prof. And I just want to reassure our students at this time. We know that it's of course a new environment. We're navigating a situation that we have never, as a campus, done before. And so we understand, of course, that you will have questions, you will have concerns, and of course, we're working through all of these scenarios to be able to provide you with the relevant information. And so you can expect further updates in terms of the impact of the border closure. We would have disseminated an email to all of you prior, particularly our returning students. You would have gotten one of our internal communique that spoke to it. And so, of course, as soon as there is any other information available, you can expect that you will be updated on that. So moving back into our...
Christine, could I just add one important point?
Oh.
For anyone who is coming into the country, the 14-day quarantine period will apply. So so you have to bear that in mind, that they will need to be quarantined and tested. Quarantined for a 14-day period, tested before and after to make sure that they're double negative results before they're allowed back onto the campus and elsewhere. Thank you.
Thanks for clarifying that, Prof. And so, just for our students to note that, we continue, of course, to follow all of the protocols that are set out by our Ministry of Health. And so, of course, once we start that process of course, bringing students back in, we will, of course, share all of those guidelines. So you can look out for that. So moving back into our questions, this one I will throw to Kevin. So Kevin, this question goes, if you are paying your fees online, does the credit card need to be in your name, or can you use your parents' credit card to pay?
That's a good question, Christine. You can actually use your parents' credit card or somebody else's credit card to make the payment. Just know that you will receive a confirmation email, and you can share that with us so that we'll be able to track down your payment and make sure it's properly allocated to your account. But you can use somebody else's credit card to make the payment on your account. That's fine.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks for that. Our next question is, Kevin, I'm going to ask you to take this one as well. Will there be any extension on tuition payments for students who are not yet GATE approved by August due to COVID?
When you say GATE approved, I need to probably get some more information on that question. The payment plan for semester 1 will run with installments at the end of August, September, and October. Now, with respect to paying fees and paying fees on those stipulated deadline dates, that's fine. In terms of GATE approval, I was just answering a question in the chat about that. We can't wait actually until the GATE approval comes in to give you financial clearance. We know that takes a bit of time. So what we ask you to do is just apply for GATE. Once you have a GATE application, a valid GATE application, we will use that to give you financial clearance while we wait for the GATE approval to come in. When that approval comes in, we continue along the way. If it doesn't come in for any reason, any particular reason, we'll then get back to the student and advise them, well, GATE has not approved the application, or they're asking for more information, or they're asking to make a correction, and we work with the student to sort those things out. But clearance is issued based on a GATE application, not necessarily the GATE approval, because we know that will take some time to come in.
Okay, thanks for that, Kevin. Just looking through all our questions coming in here, we have a lot of really specific questions, and I want to, of course, encourage the students who may have questions that, of course, are applicable to their current scenario. I'm seeing students asking about specific courses and calculation of GPA in terms of the application for GATE, and so I want to encourage you to reach out either to Kevin's office, of course, if it's a GATE-related question, and for the scholarships and bursaries specific questions, to reach out to Christy, because I wouldn't want us to, we may not be able to answer your question in too much detail, because for those specific ones, we really need to get some more information to be able to guide you. So we really want to encourage our participants to reach out with those very, very specific questions. And of course, after this session, we are going to share an email which will have contact information both for Kevin and Christy's departments, so that you can direct your questions accordingly. So thanks, of course, for all the questions that are coming in, and we're trying to get through as many of them as we can. So our next question, and I'm seeing a lot of questions with regard to the payment at the bank. So Kevin, if you can take this question. Since the campus is closed, the student is asking where can they access the student bank slip needed for the payment. And I know that these are available at some of the branches, but I would just ask you to clarify.
Yes, for sure, those bank deposits will be available at UWI Republic Bank branch. What I did too as well is give them some additional steps to disperse to other branches, because students were saying that they were not available at the other branches. So I did give bank deposit slips to the personnel at the Republic Bank branch at UWI to dispatch to the other branches. So they should be available there. If they're not, you can indicate to the bank and have them request us for those bank deposit slips so that we can dispatch it to that particular branch that will be available for the students to use.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. The next question, I'm not sure which of you would want to take it, so I'm going to throw it out. The question is, does having a first degree inhibit me from applying and receiving a scholarship since I will be starting a new undergraduate degree? So Christy, you want to take this one?
Yes, Christine, thanks. We have had situations where students come back in to do a second degree and they are considered based on all the eligibility criteria that I would have outlined initially. So I would answer, my answer to that is yes. However, I would say if the student can also give consideration if they were a former recipient to, applying or considering holding off for another year, just to give someone else another opportunity. We have to share it's a small pot with many, many hands. So while we encourage students to apply, we also ask students who in this particular case may or may not have received, but I'm looking at a case where you may have received, but you're not ineligible. You can apply.
Okay, wonderful. And just on that note of the requirements, Christy, I know you spoke of in your presentation about perhaps adding your extracurricular activities and so to your application. So if you can just clarify how students can go about doing that. I'm seeing a question here about how do I go about, alerting about my extracurricular involvements.
Okay, thank you. So there is a form online. If you go on to our webpage under the supporting documents tab, the menu item will drop down showing extracurricular form. Now that form is separated into 4 categories for you to place in the respective category the nature of your involvement in your extracurricular activity. So for example, you may see a category that says community service or one that says just general volunteerism. There's another category that also speaks to entrepreneurship, and then there's other things. So if, for example, you are a student who was a member of a club during semester 1 and the first part of semester 2, I know that there's difficulty in accessing the club leaders and other persons who would have to sign off that form for you for approval. So we are facilitating that. We've invited those students to send an email to us with and attach the form in PDF version. And we will seek out the person and get the respective signatures on the student's behalf in a case where the student really cannot get on to the respective club leader. If you are able, for example, to get on to persons in your community who you would have worked with, we would then ask you to write them an email, reach out to them, ask them to put together a letter with the company or the organization's letterhead, perhaps a stamp, but definitely signed by the lead of the club. And then you email that to us in a PDF format. And that's what we will use. We will then download it and have it to process. So that's the way we're actually doing it. We have a few cases where students wrote into us. They said, listen, I was part of a club. Our director usually signs off as well for persons who are part of UWI clubs or even student athletes, because we do have 10 scholarships that are offered through the UWI Development and Endowment Fund for student athletes. And so those student athletes are also required to fill out a form that requires members of the Sport and Physical Education Center, their coaches, etc., to complete that form, sign it, and so on. So we're facilitating that once the student cannot do it, cannot access those persons. So feel free to send it to us.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Christy. And our next question is for you as well. Just a note of clarity. So can you clarify if summer courses are taken into account for scholarship applications?
Unfortunately, summer courses are not taken into consideration. We look at your scores from your main academic year, which comprise semester 1 and semester 2. So the grades you would have received at the end of semester 1 and 2 and your cumulative GPA as a result, that is the score that we use to determine your academic merit.
Okay, thank you. Our next question, not so much a question, but I just want to ask Kevin to clarify, because we had some students who would have joined us a bit late and may have missed a part of your session. So Kevin, if you could just clarify in terms of the timing for the GATE application, both for new and returning students, when that should be done?
The application portal for GATE should be open around mid-August to the last week of August. Our registration process starts on August 24th. So around that time is when students can apply, log into the GATE website and their portal and apply for GATE for the upcoming semester. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thanks so much, Kevin. I have another GATE-related question, and this is one of those questions that is a bit specific, but I'm gonna ask if we could tackle it just for general information. So this student has been accepted to UWI and is currently trying to finish registration. They've already applied for GATE and are awaiting approval, but upon reaching to select courses online, it says that there are holes on the account blocking registration. But Kevin, just before you jump in, I know that right now registration has not yet begun. Course registration will begin from the 24th. So my assumption is that the holes that they may be seeing is really because the portal is not quite open yet.
Yes, I think so, Christine. I think because the portal is not open, that's why they're not able to select their courses online. And if there are holes in their account, they will be able to see it too as well, the reason for the hole. And they can navigate to the hole section of their account and be able to see what holes are in their account. But I'm not sure it might be holes, but more that the registration portal is not open yet.
Right, thanks for that. And just a point for participants to note in terms of the key dates, our academic calendar is available online. So we will share the link to that in our wrap-up email, just so you can be guided by the dates for registration. Right now, the dates for academic advising, because I saw a question about that, those dates are being clarified for both new and returning students. There are some faculties who are beginning advising as early as next week. So you can look out for an email by the end of the week, just giving any updates, particularly for those sessions that are gonna be starting next week. And of course, we would have advised prior that due to COVID and the current restrictions, we are going to be doing academic advising online. So it's just for you to look out for the information on that. And I see that the academic calendar has been shared in the chat. So that is a really key resource for you to be guided by in terms of the dates. So the next main date you can look out for is, of course, the start of registration, which is the online registration for courses, because I'm seeing some students as well getting confused between the terminology. So for the new students, you would have submitted an application to begin a study, a program of study. So you would have submitted an online application for acceptance. Some of you are awaiting acceptance, which is gonna follow in the next couple of weeks. But of course, returning students, you will want to be guided by the date for registration, which is the date relative to registering for your courses online, and of course following that full registration process, which involves selecting your courses online as well as payment of fees and applying for GATE, of course, for the Trinidad and Tobago Nationals. So we're just looking at starting to wind down our session, and I'm still seeing some questions coming in. Kevin, if you could take this one. If you're unable to pay off all your compulsory fees by the 24th of August, what will happen? So perhaps, Kevin, you can reiterate some of the deadlines in terms of the student payment plan as well as the deadline for fees.
Right, so in the first semester, the student payment plan would run, would have 3 installments, one at the end of August, one at the end of September, and one at the end of October. That will be a tuition fees. Other fees like the compulsory fees will be payable up front. We wouldn't be in distributing or giving financial clearance. That will take place up until even after registration closes. So a student that may not have paid off or cleared up all his fees by August, by the end of August, may still have some time as your registration period is still open to make payments towards those fees. And and seek financial clearance after that. So there's some time for them to take up those fees.
Okay, wonderful. And Kevin, just on the note of financial clearance, and prior to COVID, of course, we've long established a system where students can email their documents in. There's no need to come to the campus to submit any documents for financial clearance. So could you just remind our participants about that?
Yes, definitely. We have always encouraged students to scan and email their documents to get financial clearance. And well, given the current COVID situation, that is the option, and that is the only option that is available. We have designated email addresses dependent on your faculty and program that you can use to send your documents to get financial clearance. I urge you to send it in a PDF format. Paying attention to the size of the attachment, because the size will cause your email to bounce back, or it may cause the email to not be delivered. All right, so PDF formats, monitor the size, scan and email all your documents to the relevant email addresses, and you'll be given financial clearance within 2 to 5 days, if not sooner. All right, and the email addresses, I think we can share with them, Christine. If you haven't done so already, that we can use.
Yes, so when we do the wrap-up email to the participants, we will include, of course, all the link to the part on the website where they can find all of the relevant email addresses for the different faculty representatives. All right, so just moving along. So I want to just say thanks again to all of our attendees who have been, sharing their questions. I hope that the session has really been instructive in terms of getting the information that you need. So, we're just trying to wrap up and go through to make sure as much as possible we've been able to tackle all of your questions. So just moving along here. Christy, I'm just seeing a question, just a point of clarity. And I know that really because we have attendees hopping on at different points of the session, they may have missed things. So just on a point of clarity, can you just clarify? I know you mentioned earlier that there are basically 2 categories of scholarship and bursary awards, and how that whole process works.
Okay, all right, not a problem. The scholarships and bursaries are offered. So when you think of scholarships, think of it from 3 levels. You have your national or governmental scholarships, and that's the one that Mr. Kalu would have alluded to. Those that come from the government based on your CAPE results, your CSEC results. So we are informed of that by the government. Mr. Kalu, his section would get that information so they know how to apply the funding. Then at the University of the West Indies, and we are a regional university, at our headquarters in Jamaica, we have the Office of the Board for Undergraduate Studies. And as part of that office, they deal with scholarships and bursaries for all students across all 4 campuses, well, 5 campuses in this case. And for those scholarships, our office would be part of the committee that is headed by the headquarters and by, like I said, the Office for Board for Undergraduate Studies. And those awards are on 2 levels. You have the UE Open Awards, and then you have those privately donated awards coming from our headquarters. So what takes place at that meeting? A number of awards are assigned to different campuses, and the list of applicants would be sent on a sheet. And based on the ones who best meet the criteria, those would be the ones who will be awarded. The headquarters will inform the students directly. We are here to just facilitate some of the administrative processes related to those awards. And finally, and more specific to the Financial Advisory Services Department here at the UWI St. Augustine campus, are those scholarships and bursaries that are non-tuition based, that are privately funded by members of society, individuals, and campus community. And those awards are what we process. We serve as the secretariat for that, and that comes through our campus for committee undergraduate awards. And so we meet as a committee. The committee comprises our chair, who is the deputy principal. In addition to each faculty sends a representative, and all the donors are invited to be part of that. They are actually part of the committee. And so that's the third, when you're thinking about scholarships and bursaries, that's the third area. So we can speak to that directly. We can lend support with respect to the OBUS awards, but for the national awards, I would really want to hand that over to the ministry and to Kevin Kalu and his team, who may have some idea of the funding aspect of it, as in when the funds are received, etc. I hope I answered the question, Christine.
Yes, thanks.
Yes? Okay, all right, great.
Yeah, just seeing some questions that we missed earlier, just to clarify, because I know that it's a lot of information that we're sharing. I know that, you know, students would have had many questions. I know we've gotten the opportunity to respond to quite a few. But of course, just given the fact that we've had participants coming in and out, I just wanted to make sure that there's clarity in the information that is being shared.
Sure.
So participants, as we just start to wind down this session, I actually want to invite Professor Ramnarayan just to address some of the concerns that we saw coming in about students who are coming in from some of the regional countries, and there's a question about the student permits and the student visa. So Prof. Ramnarayan, if you could just clarify what is the usual process?
Okay, thanks, Christine. So for regional students, once they land at our airport, Piaco International, they are interviewed by the immigration officer, and they're requested to produce their letter of offer. And once the immigration officer is satisfied, the passport is stamped, and normally a 6-month period is given. Now, during that period, we'll work with the student. In fact, we have fairly good contact with the immigration division. In fact, we normally get our immigration officers to come on campus so they could interview the students and approve a longer period. So that period is usually up to a year. For the international students, the same applies, but the period is shorter, up to 3 months. Now, it's really important that students check their passports after they leave or after they leave the immigration officer or after they leave the airport, because sometimes students have been given a shorter period, like maybe a month, maybe 2 months. Students come in, they go to the halls of residence, and they forget about their passports. They forget that they are here just for a limited period. And sometimes we have had cases where students get into trouble because of that. So we work with the students, we ask them to check their passport, make sure that the stamp is of a suitable period, and we work with immigration to get that period extended to a year. Thank you, Christine.
Thanks, Prof. And I am just seeing, we had a lot of questions come in from our Cape Unit 2 students. And so I just want to ask Kevin to just clarify. I know that we would have addressed it earlier, but just in terms of the timelines for the GATE application and what they can do at this point while they await their formal acceptance, what parts of the process can they start? I believe they can start with applying for the GATE ID.
Yes, Christine. So whilst the GATE portal is not open as yet for applications for the upcoming semester, you can go ahead and get your GATE ID number by visiting any TT Connect center with your ID card and your birth certificate. So getting that number, you can do now. There's nothing stopping you from doing that at this point in time. As soon as the GATE portal is open, you can then log in and apply for your GATE funding. And that should be around the last week of August, around the same time our registration would start, which is around August 24th, I think.
Okay, wonderful. And Kevin, we just had a question on, I guess, the terminology in terms of the updates for the GATE application. This person is asking, the last time I checked my GATE application, it said clearance verified. Can you advise what that means?
That's a really good question. A lot of times students get a little bit confused because the GATE application goes through several stages from applied to clearance verified, to clearance approved, to finance approved. It does go through a number of stages. Per application, the application was clearance verified, I think. So that's
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a fair way into the particular process. Clearance verified, might be about halfway through. We still need to take it to clearance approved stage, which would then, we would then be able to definitively say, okay, you could get funding for that particular semester. But note very well, we don't give students financial clearance based on gate approval per se. We know that the gate approval may take some time, and we wouldn't want to hold back the student or while we wait on that. What we need from you is a gate application. Once we have a legitimate gate application, we will then monitor the gate processing. And as long as that application becomes approved, created online, that's fine. We will issue your financial clearance upfront while we wait on that approval to come in.
Thanks a lot for that, Kevin, because I know that we often have a lot of queries from our continuing students wanting, just, I guess, being concerned about is the delay, I suppose, with getting the gate approval going to impact their financial clearance. And so it's good to know that we have a system in place that allows for financial clearance to progress whilst we wait on that clearance from gate. So thanks a lot for clarifying that. And so participants, we've been going just for over an hour and a half. We've shared a lot of information with you this afternoon, and we really want to thank you for your participation. And at this point, I just want to welcome any closing comments from my fellow panelists. So Professor Ramnarine.
Thanks, Christina. I think it was a really useful session based on the questions and comments that we saw. So again, I would like to welcome our students. In fact, I hope that we have a really good conversion. I mean, most of our students are those who are being offered. We do have a few retaining students, so I'm hoping that you all register. We will do our best to see how we can help in terms of scholarships, bursaries, financial assistance, and so forth. Because it's really important. It's really important for you to get a university education. Thank you very much, and good night, everyone.
Thanks, Professor Ramnarine. Kevin, any closing comments?
Just want to tell all our prospective candidates as well as incoming students, we understand that financing could be an issue. We're here to help you with that. We stand ready to assist. It might be a bit complicated, but feel free to contact us. Email us, call us, so we'll try our best to help you sort out your finances in that regard. Looking forward to seeing you guys, and again, BUE.
Thank you, Kevin. Christy, any closing comments?
Yes, thank you, Christine. I just want to say on behalf of the team at FAS, thank you for hosting, and thanks to everyone who's tuned in to let the students know that we at the Division of Student Services and Development are here. We are here to support you. We look forward to welcoming you, though virtually, on the campus. And for those of you who have financial situations, please reach out to us, and we will try to create a pathway for you so you can enjoy your journey here on campus. Thank you, and please keep safe.
Thank you, Christy, and thanks again to all the panelists who joined me this afternoon. There were a lot of great questions being asked, and I hope that we were able to address all of your concerns. Just a reminder that after this session, you will receive an email from us, and in it, we will share key contact information as well as resources to some of the items that were mentioned. And so, of course, you can also liaise with us directly. You can reply to that email or email any of the contacts in there to get additional information. So as we bring today's session to close, I'd like to thank you for being with us. It's been my pleasure being your host. So look out for that email. And from all of us here at the UWI St. Augustine campus, we look forward very much to welcoming you back for our returning students and also welcoming our new students. So all of you have a good evening, and thank you.